In this video, we'll be looking at section 0.2, with our first part being multiplying radicals, and the second part's going to be dividing radicals slash rationalizing denominators. So we'll be multiplying some radicals together, and then we'll be dividing radicals, which will include rationalizing denominators. So our central question will be, how do I multiply and divide radicals? On our left, we'll put our steps, and on our right, we'll have our example that goes along with the steps. So the example I'll be working with is 3 root 24 times 4 root 12. Okay, my first step will be step 1, simplify radicals, if possible. Because sometimes it won't be possible, so if it's not possible, you skip this step. But if it is possible, we want to simplify the radical. So the 3 comes down, and then I'm going to factor our root 24 into a perfect square root and the other root. So a perfect square factor of 24 is 4, so I could have root 4 times root 6. And then I'll bring down this times 4. And then we're going to do the same thing with 12, where we're going to split it up into its perfect square factor and its other factor. So that would be root 4 and root 3. So now this becomes 3 times, I can simplify the square root of 4 to 2. And then we'll bring down our root 6 times the 4, just bringing this stuff down. So I brought my 3 down. Square root of 4 simplified. Square root of 6 stayed the same. 4 gets brought down. Square root of 4 will simplify. And then the square root of 3 stays the same. Okay, so that was step 1, simplifying the radical. Step 2 will be so in step 2 we'll multiply numbers on the outside together, and we'll multiply numbers on the inside together. And when I'm saying outside and inside, I'm referring to outside the radical or inside the radical. So I can go 3 times 2 times 4 times 2. So I can multiply all 4 of the numbers on the outside together, because this is all multiplication. So I can go 3 times 2 times 4 times 2. So I'm going to go 3 times 2, that's coming down like that, times 4 times 2. And then I can bring my radicals and say, well, then I'm going to multiply root 6 times root 3. So we're going to multiply the numbers on the outside together. So 3 times 2 is 6. 6 times 4 is 24. 24 times 2 is 48. So multiplying all 4 of these numbers together, I get 48. And then I can multiply the numbers on the inside of the radicals together. So that's 6 times 3 would be the square root of 18. And then step 3 is simplify radical again, if possible. So we have our 48 root 18. I'm just going to copy that for this step. And then we'll start simplifying. So the 48 stays the same. My square root can split up into its perfect square factor and its other factor. I'm just bringing things down. 48 times 3 times root 2. And again, we're multiplying numbers on the outside together. 3 times 48, and then there's no, and then the square root of 2 will stay the same. So we'll do 3 times 48, which is 144. 144. 3 times 8 is 24. Yep. And then we just bring down the square root of 2, and we're done. So you simplify radicals, multiply numbers on the outside together, multiply numbers on the inside together, and then simplify again if needed. And that's how we can multiply radicals. Now, dividing radicals is quite similar, except we're dividing. So switch over to this side. So dividing radicals. So the first step, just like the previous one, is our simplify radicals as possible. So let's put our steps in our example. So step 1. Simplify radicals. Here's our example. 8 root 18 over 12 root 26. Actually, we don't want to simplify radicals first. Let's simplify our fractions first, because then our numbers will be smaller. So simplify fractions. And we'll simplify the outside numbers, and we'll simplify the inside numbers, just like their fractions. So how this would simplify is 8 over 12 could simplify to 2 over 3. And then my numbers on the inside of the radicals can simplify as if it was a fraction. So 18 over 26. So I could say root 9 over root 13. So I simplified the 8 over 12. I was able to divide both top and bottom by 4. 8 divided by 4 is 2. 12 divided by 4 is 3. And then I was able to simplify the numbers inside my radicals just like a fraction. 18 over 26, dividing top and bottom by 2. And then step 2 will be simplify radicals. So we'd have our 2 times 3, square root of 9 is 3, over our 3 root 13. That stays the same. So that gives me 6 over 3 square root of 13. I can simplify my fractions again on the outside. So I can divide both by 3, and this would be 2 over 1 root 13. And the last step, kind of like our new words, is rationalize the denominator. Multiply top and bottom by the denominator's radical. So I'm just going to copy the problem, just like that. So we can rationalize the denominator by multiplying the top and bottom by the denominator's radical. So the radical in the denominator is root 13. So I can multiply the top and bottom by root 13. And what this does is it essentially gets rid of the square roots. So I'm going to go 13 times 13, and then I'll take the square root of that. So I'll be left with 13. So I'm going to say 2 times the square root of 13. It just stays the same. I can't multiply these together. And then I'm going to go, so what we're doing is, I'll show you this is the long way. This is 2 square root of 13 over 1 times the square root of 169. But then the square root of 169 is 13. So you can write it out if you want, or you can just know that, well, when I do a square root of 13 times the square root of 13, it's going to equal 13. It kind of like gets rid of that square root. And that's it for dividing radicals. So thank you very much for watching this video. I hope you have a great rest of your day.